Hi, I'm Anna, the content creator for Marshall Communications, and today I'm sharing a recipe for Vietnamese spring rolls. And before you stop watching, I was terrified of making these too. I thought they'd be way too complicated and it wasn't in my wheelhouse, but then I tried making them and now I'm hooked and I make them all the time. They're great for the summer when it's too hot and you don't want to heat up your kitchen by cooking a whole bunch of things, or you don't have the appetite for like a really heavy dinner. So these spring rolls can be vegetarian, or you can use any kind of meat of your choice. The marinade that I used for some chicken thighs you can use on steak or tofu, and then you can grill it if you want to do while you're cooking outside, or you can just use the broiler like I did and cook them up. So I've already done the marinated chicken and that's ready to go. And I'm just going to show you how to make a dipping sauce and how to make the spring rolls in a few really easy steps. So the first thing we need to do is prepare the noodles, and I have some my fun or vermicelli made from rice, and I'm just adding some really hot water, and we're going to soak these while I show you how to make the Cham dipping sauce, which is the classic dipping sauce for spring rolls. So I'm just going to put some hot water in here, and once these are cooked enough and they're the right consistency, I'm going to drain them and chop them up so they're ready to put into the spring rolls. So it fits in. This is just like a few minutes. So for the Cham dipping sauce, we're going to start with 3 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lime juice, and then 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, or you can use some regular sugar too. The recipe I'll share will have both options. So we're kind of making a limeade. This is Andrea Nguyen's recipe, and she has this amazing Vietnamese cookbook that has all kinds of wonderful things and was helpful in getting me to kind of overcome my fear of making spring rolls. So now we have a limeade. We want to taste it, and we want it to be sweet and tart, and then we start adding the other ingredients. So I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar, unseasoned rice vinegar. And I like a lot of fish sauce, so I'm going to probably put in close to 4 tablespoons, but you can start with just maybe 2 and then taste it from there, or 3. So I'll start with 3 and we'll just see. And then I have a little minced garlic clove here I'm going to add in. And then for a little heat, I'm going to use some garlic chili sauce. You could also just chop up a serrano or Thai chili. I'm just going to do a little bit of this. I'm using like half a teaspoon because I don't want it to be super hot. But if you want it to be super hot, go crazy. Okay, so I'm going to work with all this. And just taste it. And you want it to be fish saucy, limey, sweet, and however spicy you want, and then kind of play around with it, and then you're good to go. Part of setting up your mise en place for preparing your spring rolls is getting your herbs ready. So I have some basil here. I also love using mint, or just a combination of mint and basil. So I'm just chopping it really finely, and that's going to go into its own little bowl. And if I'm using a combination, I put them all in the same little bowl so that I have an even amount of the nice herbs in the spring rolls. Then the cilantro goes into a separate thing. The cilantro is kind of the focal point. And I just cut it so you don't have any really long pieces, because when you take a bite of the spring roll, you don't want to like pull out a long piece of the cilantro while you're eating it. It's very undignified. So I want them to be, big but not too big. And I've also cut up the noodles that are now cooked and nice and soft, so that there's no really long pieces, because sometimes they can come in noodles that are like over a foot long. So one of the things that makes these much easier than you think is just having everything all ready. So I have my rice paper wraps, which, look at this when they're dry, and they're called either rice paper wraps or spring roll skins. And what you do is you take one and you just dip it in some like lukewarm water. Eventually it gets cold, so it really doesn't matter. So you dip it in there for like a little bit, just maybe 5 seconds, and then you take it out And then you just have to wait a minute because you want it to be like Post-it note tacky so that you know that it's ready to start rolling stuff up. The first one I'm going to make is going to be a shrimp one. So normally you just take a piece of your lettuce and you want to use a butter lettuce or a soft lettuce. So maybe like green leaf or red leaf, but don't use romaine because it's just too stiff because you need something with flexibility so that it actually rolls. So normally you would make like a little boat with the lettuce leaf and stack everything in it. But if you want it to be a little more glamorous, you put your fillings on the bottom because then it'll become the top. And then I'm going to put a lettuce leaf and some of the noodles. I just sort of guesstimate, maybe it's like a quarter cup of noodles. Actually, do it this way. Some of the herbs, so your basil or your mint, and a hearty amount of cilantro. And I have some crispy fried shallots here that I'm using. You can also just use fried onions or skip this all together. And then you see, look, it's already like stripped. So you fold up the sides and you're basically making like a little burrito. So you fold up the sides and then I take the side that's closest to me and then I sort of start tucking stuff in to try to create a little bit of tension so that it's nice and tight. And then I just roll. And here you go. It was like 30 seconds to make. So easy. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Stay cool this summer and happy cooking.